Hey everybody, it's Maya Zahira here on this Facebook Live class. And I was really trying to do a Facebook Live and a YouTube Live at the same time, but I guess my tablet doesn't work for that. That was going to be super cool, but apparently not this time. So, as always, I will repost this free Facebook Live class onto YouTube. I always do that by the next day. So if you're watching this on Facebook, just know you can always go to YouTube and watch this class and all past classes. Okay, so I have a ton of notes as usual, and I want to get through it in a timely manner, so you'll have to excuse me if I look at my notes sometimes. So, oh yes, first things first, the name of this class is it okay to have positive spirits in my home? Obviously, we know that it's probably not going to be okay to have negative spirits, demons, stuff like that in your house, right? But I get this question a lot, like, or actually not even a question, just a statement. And I'm constantly teaching people and training people. Like, I was at a metaphysical fair last month. And I noticed that I had conversations with 8 different people who said, yeah, I have such and such in my house, but since they're not bothering me, I don't worry about it. It's probably fine. And then I'm like explaining to them how it's not fine. So that was actually where this workshop topic came from, was the fact that I'm like, everywhere I go, I'm educating people about this same thing, telling them the same thing over and over again. So now putting on video so you can all learn about it. Before we get into our content, and we have a lot, I just want to really quick go through some information with you in case you're wanting more information. And a lot of this that I'm going to go over with you is free. So I'm not trying to sell you anything, nothing like that. But I will give you that option if you want it. I have tons of free stuff that I've been offering online, and I want you to be able to access it. So let's go over that first, and then we're going to go over the content. Hey, Anne. Good to see you. So everybody who's joining, if you can just say hello and where you're joining from, then everybody will be able to see those comments. Okay. So once again, my name is Maya Zahira, and I'm with Psychic Protection Sanctuary. Website is www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And what do I do? What is it that I do? So I help people who are experiencing unwanted paranormal activity. So that's like this side of the spectrum. People who are experiencing either a haunting in their house, or they're experiencing personal issues with entities or psychic attack. So I work with people on this side of the spectrum. And then over here on this end of the spectrum are people who are just simply really sensitive to energies. That would include empaths, HSPs, which is short for highly sensitive person. And so, that describes a lot of people who go out into the world and feel bombarded by energy, feel bombarded by other people's emotions, all of that. So I help teach people how to protect themselves, keep themselves clear, no matter where you are on that spectrum. So that's what I do. Announcements, we do have a live class every month. And right now, we've been having it on the first, oh, hey, Jane. Hello. Jane from Brooklyn. So we have this free class the first Monday evening of the month. Some of my students actually are international. I'm in Kansas City, so some people across the world, this is Monday night that we're doing this, but for other people it's Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. So we're in the US, and it's on Monday evenings, the first Monday evening of the month, and I go into a lot of stuff. So if you want free classes, if you don't want to take my paid stuff, I do go deeper in the paid stuff, but I go pretty deep. We cover a lot of stuff in the free classes. So, come and soak it up like a sponge as much as you want to. And Nicole from Seattle. Hey, Nicole, good to see you. What was the other thing? Oh, and I'm also on YouTube. So grab a pen and paper because we're actually going to go over a lot of stuff today. So it's good to grab it anyway and get ready to take some notes. So I have hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of free classes on YouTube. And all you have to do is go to youtube.com, type in Psychic Protection Sanctuary into the search bar, and you will find my channel. And be sure to click subscribe so that you can, get notifications for all the future videos, because I do more videos. I do little short videos, and I also upload these Facebook Live classes. So there's even more on there than there is in, that's a good segue to the next part. I have a free Facebook page called Psychic Protection Sanctuary. Sorry, it's not a page, it's a group. And it's basically a support group and an information group, and I share tons of stuff on there and answer people's questions, and other people offer support for each other. People along that spectrum that I was talking about. So it's for empaths and spiritual seekers who want to know about psychic protection. And again, that's a group, not a page. So it's the group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and you can join that. And then lastly, if you want to work with me, so that does, the other things that I've talked about are free, but most of the things on my website, I do have some free videos on there too. But most of my offerings on my website are things that I charge for, because this is what I've devoted my life to, and I do have to pay for a roof, a roof over my head to fund being able to do this work. So if you want more, there's my website, which is www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and I have stuff you can download for as low as $5, and then programs that are hundreds of dollars. And then you can also work with me one-on-one. So I wanted to really just start this off. I don't always do the Facebook Lives like this, but I just felt really called that I wanted to recap all of the different ways that you can connect with me, all the different ways that you can soak up this knowledge, either free or paid. There's tons. Okay, so those are all the different ways that you can. All right. So let's jump into our topic for this evening. And again, the title of this class is it okay to have positive spirits in my home? And again, what I mentioned before is that I constantly run into people who, when I tell them what it is that I do for my work, they'll say, we'll just start chatting, and they'll say, oh yeah, I have a friendly ghost in my house, but he's not really hurting anything, and so it's fine. And and it's actually, oh my goodness, my cat wants to join us. Hello. Oh my goodness. All right, before we get into our content, oh, she's like, I don't know about this. This is my little black kitty. Her name is Vashti, and she looks mad. Hi, baby. She's like, I was just yelling because she does that when she hears me talking. So, all right, we're taking a little break, a little cat break. You didn't know this was going to be a cat video. The internet is full of cat videos. Okay, hush. Hush up, little cat. All right. Okay, so I'm constantly educating people and explaining that, even if they're a friendly ghost, kitty, yeah, Nicole, even if they're a friendly ghost, it's not usually a good idea to have them in your house. But I'm going to explain why. And as I was encountering that over and over again with so many people, I realized, I need to do a video on this. And as I brainstormed for the video, I thought, well, let's just expand it a little bit and talk not just about ghosts, but the different kinds of entities that you might have in your home or on your land, and defining what each one is and whether it's okay or not to have them in your space. Because it's not just a straight yes or no answer to some of these. And here's the thing. I'm going to give you my expert advice, and this is expert advice. I know all about this stuff, and I'm also clairvoyant, meaning I can see energies, I can see entities. I've got all the clairs, clairaudient, claircognizant, clairsentient, etc. So this knowledge comes from all the work that I've done with helping clients with psychic protection issues, but also with what I can see and experience and feel firsthand with different entities and energies. Okay, so what I was going to say is, all right, so I'm giving you my expert advice, but honestly, what it comes down to is that it's your home. It's up to you to decide. I'm not the boss of your house, right? So I'm going to tell you what I think and what I know, and then it will be up to you to decide what you feel is best for your space. But here's the thing. In my opinion, a lot of people out there just don't have the right information. And because they don't have the right information, it causes them to not have the level of discernment that they should have. And also, there's a lot of people out there that don't seem to have very good boundaries. Hey, Isabella. Hey, stranger. So there's a lot of people out there that don't have good boundaries. And I say that from a place of love, because that's been an area in my own personality and in my own life that I've spent many years healing, still healing deeper levels of it. But it's the reason why I recognize it so easily in others, because it's part of what I've worked on for so many years. So there's a lot of people that just kind of let other people and energies and entities have control over their life or their space, rather than, taking authority over their space, over their life, over their own energy. So keep that in mind. If you've been, just kind of think as I go through this, consider whether you've been too lax with your boundaries, or perhaps your discernment could use a little amping up. Okay, so all right. So let's start off with actually what I have on the bottom of my list, because this is obvious. So the workshop, this free workshop is it okay to have positive spirits in my home? But I also included on the list some negative entities, because I just want to be really clear. So let's start off with the negative stuff and just get that out of the way, and then we'll talk about happy stuff after that. Okay, so demons, evil spirits, and other malevolent beings. Okay, most people are going to have clear boundaries on that, and they're going to do a house clearing or call me to do a house clearing because they don't want that stuff in their house, because it's obviously causing problems. Like it'll be obvious that it's causing problems. It's like scaring the people in the house. Maybe the people in the house are having physical issues, illness, mental, emotional issues. So it's usually pretty obvious to people that these are not beneficial, but believe it or not, Erica from Burlingame, Kansas, welcome. Believe it or not, nowadays, there are people who work with all levels of entities. And if you've watched my stuff very much at all, you know that I believe in free will for everybody, but I don't support calling in demons and or allowing them to stay in your house just because it's cool, or because you want to do some spell work and then have them do your bidding for you. It's just people who've done that stuff end up having a mess that they have to deal with later. And I can't tell you, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. If you're in my group and you're watching this, a lot of those people who tend towards that have already self-selected themselves out of my group, which is totally fine, so you probably don't even need to hear about this. Okay, but in case you have an acquaintance or friend who's like, oh yeah, I've got these whatever shadow people or interdimensional beings flying around, yeah, they need to go. Okay, so clearing, I am going to touch a little bit on clearing, although we have such a long list. This is not, we're not going to have time to go deeply into how to clear each of these kinds of spiritual beings. But your go-to for clearing the really nasty stuff would be burning raw frankincense resin. And you can actually, I have information on that in my paid programs, but you can find information about it online, I know. So if you have any questions about that, you can let me know. Okay, so we went over the nasty stuff first. Let's start with the top of the list, the nicest stuff. So, types of entities. How about your guardian angels and your spirit guides? Those are, and other angels that maybe aren't your guardian angels, but like Archangel Michael or, whatever. Angels of healing that are showing up in your house, etc. Is that okay? So give me a thumbs up let's just play with this a little bit. Give me a thumbs up if you think that it's okay to have your guardian angels, your spirit guides, other angelic beings in your house. Give me a thumbs up if you think it's okay. If you think it's not okay, give me an angry face because we don't have a thumbs down. So thumbs up or angry face. Okay? So for all the rest of these, we're going to be interactive like that. So get your finger ready because I know there's a lot of delay between when I ask the question and I actually see your responses. Okay, so rather than doing it as a comment, you can actually, I think there's actually buttons like just the thumbs up button, the smiley, I forget what they all are. Love, I forget. Anyway, so just give me your answer, whether you think it's okay or not. However, you can figure out how to give me an answer. Okay. All right, so since I'm still waiting for answers, since there's a bit of a lag time, I'm going to go into the answer. This one is one of the only ones, I think it's the only one on the list here, that is a very clear, obvious, yes, it is okay to, it's actually beneficial to have these beings in your house, and actually they're not going to just be in your house, they're going to be wherever you are, because your guardian angels and your spirit guides are with you all the time throughout your entire life. Well, I paused there because some of your spirit guides will be with you for your whole life, and some of them will be with you during certain time periods. If you want to know more about the difference between guardian angels and spirit guides, by the way, I do have a video about that on my YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. So you can look for it on there. Okay, so those are guardian angels. Those are good, obviously. Okay, but now we're going to get into some more gray area. What about loved ones? If a loved one has passed on, and then they, you feel like they're always, like, you can sense that they're always upstairs. You can hear them walking around in the bedroom, etc. And before we jump into that, I've got a question here. Nicole says, are guardian angels and spirit guides with you 24/7, or do they come and go from your daily life space like loved ones? That's a really good question. So from my experience and what I experience psychically, what I see psychically, and what I know claircognizantly, is that they are with you, your guardian angels are with you 24/7. Like they are watching over you, they are keeping you safe, they are comforting you, they are helping you heal, they are giving you wisdom, knowledge, guidance, etc. Your spirit guides, there's different, they can operate in different ways. So some of them could be with you 24/7. Some of them could come and go. Some can be with you for your whole life. And some can just be with you during certain times of your life. For example, as soon as you become a mother or a student, or you start delving into a different career path, life path, or something like that, you may have a new spirit guide come in to help you during that time. Okay, so they weren't with you your entire life. Now, loved ones tend to come and go a lot more than your spirit guides. Okay, so your loved ones, there are some that won't be with you all the time. They will just come and visit you on your birthday, or when you're struggling or suffering, or you have a birth of a child or some important event. Okay, so each loved one that's going to be with you is different. If they're with you all the time, then I would consider them a spirit guide, because they're guiding you all the time. Okay, so loved ones. Is it okay for them to be in your house? Okay, so let me just distinguish something. It's that there's two kinds of things that can happen here. So I'm going to jump ahead on the list, but still sticking with loved ones. So there's when a human being passes away and they no longer have their physical body, they should pass on to the other side, pass on to whatever your tradition calls it, heaven, the other side, to be with the divine. Okay? And so that is what they should be doing if they're moving in a healthy path. Okay? And that's actually what happens with most spirits. So, but there are sometimes spirits, discarnate humans who are not in their incarnation, physical body, who have chosen to not move on to the other side. And so those are what we call ghosts. And they are wandering the earth plane. They can choose to not move on for a few reasons. Sometimes it's not even a conscious choice. It's just something that happens because they were afraid. Maybe they feel fear or guilt about something that they did in their lifetime. And because of their religious upbringing, they're afraid of what the other side, maybe they were taught that they will receive a harsh judgment on the other side, or maybe they experienced a sudden death, and so they didn't realize that they had passed. So they, they still think that they're alive, and they're confused. Or there are some who, let me think, what happened to some who have unfinished business, unresolved business. So maybe they were murdered, and they want to make sure that the murderer is identified and sent to prison. And the final reason, I know there's various reasons, but just the top ones on my list, the final reason they might choose to not move on is because they had a physical addiction and they want to continue to partake in that addiction. And they will do so by connecting with people who are still alive, who are partaking in that substance or that activity. So those are what I'll call ghosts or discarnate spirits. So back to loved ones. Most of the time, if you have a loved one who's visiting you, they have passed on to the other side, and everything's good, everything's healthy, and they're just coming back to visit you. They're coming back to give you comfort or to check on you, but they're not stuck. They're not what I would call a ghost, okay? They have moved on, but they're just coming back to visit. So what do you think? Do you think that that's okay? Assuming that they are not stuck, that they have moved on, they're just coming back to visit. Do you feel like that's beneficial? Okay. And Melissa, I see your question. I'm going to get to that in just a little bit. So, in my professional opinion, if a loved one visits you from beyond, I feel like that can be a very comforting and wonderful experience. If it's someone that you had a lot of problems with, and a lot of times they'll maintain their personality on the other side. Sometimes they'll go through a lot of healing, so if they were a problematic person, they might not be that way once they're in spirit, but sometimes they do maintain those personality aspects. And so if a loved one shows up, like maybe a bossy parent or something, or maybe someone who is abusive, and you don't want them to be there, remember, you are sovereign. You're the one in charge of your energy. You're the one in charge of your home, your space, and so you can ask them to leave. Okay? So if they're a loved one that you don't want there, you simply ask them to leave. But overall, in general, basically when loved ones visit you, it's going to be a beneficial thing. Okay. But if you're hearing spirit activity, like, Uncle Jack always would hang out in the garage working on his car, and after he passes, there's all this spirit activity that's going on in there, like lights flashing, other kinds of indications of spirit activity. It could be possible that he didn't move on, or he didn't fully move on. So you might want to either yourself or find someone who can help you to help him to move on. Because, would you rather that he stay stuck in the garage or be able to move on to be with the divine? Okay? Doesn't mean and then he can come back and visit and say hi every once in a while, but you don't want him stuck. Okay? So in that case, he would be a discarnate being. Okay? Or a ghost. Right? A lost soul. I don't want you to worry, though, because most of the time that's not what's happening. Most of the time people move on just fine, but just mentioning that just in case. Okay? And that is something that I can help you discern. If you have a situation and you're not sure about, I can check that from a distance very easily. Okay? So we've got guardian angels, spirit guides, other angels. We've got loved ones, and I've determined most of the time that's going to be a positive experience. And then we have, this is the one that a lot of people get tripped up on. Ghosts. So next on our list we have ghosts. And ghosts, by ghosts I mean discarnate souls, like human souls that have not moved on to the other side. Okay? And we're going to, just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to say, let's say that they're either friendly or neutral, okay? Because we already know if they're an evil spirit, if it's a ghost that was very evil when they were alive, or it's become very evil as a spirit, obviously that's not beneficial to have in your home. So let's just keep it to friendly or neutral. What do you think? Give me the answer. Do you think that it's beneficial or not? Is it like sort of okay because if they're not an evil spirit and they're just kind of there, and maybe they even feel kind of nice. So is it okay for them to be there? And while you're thinking that over, I'm going to look at Melissa's question here. Melissa says, what about times where you are experiencing an attack from a negative entity? I feel like I was safe and protected physically, but was still receiving telepathic clairaudient harassment. So, okay, so this is an aside. This is a little different than what we're talking about today, but I'm definitely going to answer your question. So in your case, the entity was harassing you telepathically, clairaudiently. So she was receiving messages, in her mind. Negative beings can actually also affect you physically, but in your case, that wasn't happening. So let me see how I want to approach this. Okay, so what are you wanting to know? Are you wanting you wanting to know how to clear that or what to do about it? Because obviously our big question is it okay to have entities in your house? Okay, so I think you already know that was not okay, right? It was not comfortable. So definitely not okay, if that's what your question is. Clearing, there's actually a lot of different clearing techniques. But since that was happening to you, I would say you would want to do more than just clearing, like burning sage, burning frankincense, that sort of thing. That's what I mean by energy clearing. I feel very strongly, because this happened, that there's some ongoing issues with energetic boundaries, some past damage to your aura, that can make you vulnerable to this kind of thing. And that's why that happened. So if I were you, I would start a daily spiritual practice that includes grounding, balancing, centering. That's what I was thinking of. Centering, calling in your guides and angels, setting up boundaries, balancing your energies, etc. And doing that over a long period of time every day. Just doing it once when you're under attack doesn't work. It's not enough. So I think you need a daily practice on an ongoing basis, and that will help to keep this sort of thing from happening again. And then if this happened recently and you're having any indications of any kind of activity, I would say, I don't want to go too much into clearing techniques or we won't get through our lesson, but the first go-to would be frankincense, burning raw frankincense resin. So there's a ton of techniques, but that's the one. If I only have 2 seconds to give you a tip, that's the one that I would give. Okay? And Melissa says, I'm just wondering if your guides and angels are with you during those times. Okay. I felt like they were there, but the negative harassment continued on and off. Yeah. So your guides and your angels are with you all the time. And even when you're having that kind of experience. So this is something that has caused me some emotional pain as well, because I've gone through some things and really trying to grasp and understand why that would be allowed to happen. And, I think it ties in with free will and like that they can't step in and protect you from everything. That, some experiences are for learning. I mean, I hate to even say this, but some of them are for learning, strengthening, like literally putting you through the fire. And, sometimes shit happens, so, yes, they were still with you. And, I don't have an easy answer to that. It causes me some pain as well. It's just hard. So hard. So hard. Janine, you're wanting to know if your deceased mother-in-law is still hanging around your house. I appreciate the question. I'm actually not doing free readings, free energy evaluations in this class. About once a year I will read your house or your energy, but we're going to stick with general questions and then getting back to our topic. But just FYI, if anybody is wanting to know who's in my house, who's in your house, how methods for evaluating it, that's actually the kind of stuff that I teach in my mentorship program. So I'm not trying to sell that to you or anything, just explaining that I've gotten really clear about like which things are free, like all this content is free, but then teaching you how to do it and doing the like me evaluating your energy. I don't usually do that on the videos, except for like, I think I did it once last year, just as an extra perk. So, okay, so going on to the next. Oh, we didn't really answer ghosts and discarnate souls. Ghosts / discarnate souls. So, my clear answer to that, like, is it okay to have a friendly ghost in your house or a neutral ghost? What a lot of people say is, well, they're not hurting anybody. Maybe they lived there before. I'd feel bad about kicking them out. Maybe it was their house before. But here's the thing. It's your house now. You live there. You're welcome, Jeannie. It's your house. You live there. You are sovereign. You have sovereignty over that space. You have authority over that space. And so that's the number one thing. Number two, they need to be moving on to the other side. Do you really want, yeah, they're friendly and maybe they're not bothering you, but, think of it this way. Like, do you want them to stay stuck, or would you rather that they move on to the other side? So there's a real easy way that you can help them move on to the other side, and it's just to say a prayer and ask the angels to come and guide that spirit to move on. Okay? And here's number 3, most importantly, about discarnate souls. Since they have not moved on to the other side, since they've not moved on, and they are stuck, or they're staying on the earth plane, if they had moved on to the other side, they would be receiving energy from divine source. Since they haven't moved on, and they're still here, they have to receive energy in some other way. And how do you think that they receive energy? Even a friendly ghost. How do you think they receive energy? What they do is they plug into the people living in the house, and they source energy from the people. Okay? And I want to emphasize, even friendly ghosts, even lovely, sweet grandma ghosts, they are still sourcing energy from the people in the house. Now, I had a conversation with somebody last month about this, who said that he had this whole story about how he has some really friendly ghosts in his house, and he is a very physically strong, healthy person. So the fact that this spirit has been sourcing energy off of him, it really hasn't hurt him too much at this point. But the person who lived in that house, who owned the house before him, had major medical issues. And here's the thing, whoever is more vulnerable will be more affected by having their energy siphoned off. So if you have children, or if your health is, or maybe if you're really worn down because you're working a lot, anybody who's in a physically or emotionally vulnerable state is going to notice more of an impact from this. But I'm very protective of my energy. So even if I had like the total vitality that this guy had that I was talking to, I still wouldn't want my energy getting sucked away by a discarnate spirit. I'd be like, that's my energy. Give it back. You don't need that. This is mine, my life force energy. And so this is where I want to encourage everybody to have better boundaries and to acknowledge your sovereignty over your energy. It's not okay for ghosts to siphon your energy off of you. Even if you're like, well, I feel okay. Well, who cares if you feel okay? It is your energy. It should not be going to somebody else, whether it's a person who's an energy vampire or a spirit that's acting like an energy vampire sucking energy. Okay? So I'm a real stickler about this. When people say they have a friendly ghost in their house, I am going to say across the board, you need to help that spirit move on to the other side. Don't let it stick around. It's not beneficial for you, and it's not beneficial for the spirit either, because it's stuck. You know, it's going to be a lot more happy and healthy if it moves on. Okay? So that's my very strong opinion about that. Jane says, are white dots the size of a child's fist that show up at night ghosts? That can be. However, it could be any number of types of entities. There are lots of different kinds of entities that could manifest as that appearance. So how I would approach that as a practitioner is I would be intuitively testing that particular situation. I would be checking. That's what I would do, because I can't say across the board. There's lots of things that would show up looking like that. It could be a ghost, it could be a fairy, it could be an earth elemental, it could be an interdimensional being, it could be a loved one, it could be an angel. Like, it literally, there's so many things that could be. Okay, so before we go on to next on the list, and we just have two more, and these are two more that you might not have thought of before. But before we do those, let's look at a couple comments. Jeannie says, all great information. Yay! I'm glad you're finding it helpful. Nicole, when they siphon our energy, are they touching us, even if we don't feel it, or like less than 1 foot from us? That's a really good question. So it's really on a case-by-case basis. But how I usually see it is that an entity, whether it's a discarnate soul, a ghost, or some other kind of entity, if it's sourcing energy, what I usually see is that it will step into the person's energy field or right outside of, and it will attach an energy cord. So it's like a little hose or a tube that attaches from it to you and inserts into your auric field, your aura, the energy field around your physical body, and starts to suck energy that way. However, there are infinite ways, really, that an entity can siphon energy. So, for example, it could come closer in and attach directly into the body, any certain area of the body, any infinite area of the body. It could even step all the way into the person's body and just be sucking energy directly. Okay, less. I don't see that as often, but it can do it in any of those ways. So the primary way would be by attaching an energy cord. Okay. And Nicole is asking, what are earth elementals? And we are going to go over that. Okay, so next, so that's we have two more. We have guardians of the land and earth elementals, and I'll explain that when we get to it. Okay, so guardians of the land, or guardians of your house, etc. So a lot of times there are spirits, not usually human spirits, but spiritual beings, we'll say. Lots of times there are spiritual beings that are connected with certain areas of land and also connected with structures, homes, buildings, etc. Okay? And to be clear, they are not ghosts, they are not discarnate human souls, anything like that. They are spiritual beings that are basically assigned to be overseers and caretakers for a certain space. So, for example, when I first moved into this house a couple of months ago, like the very first day that I moved in, I think it was before moving day when I was coming over and cleaning, I could very clearly sense that there's one female being that's very connected with this house. It's almost like the house itself has a consciousness, but I think it's more like there's a spiritual being that I'm feeling who just oversees the energy of the house. I've gone in and done house blessings where the people didn't necessarily need a clearing, but they were just wanting to know what was going on energetically in their space and then have the space blessed. And I'm thinking of one in particular where I walked in the front door and I could see these two really tall spiritual beings because they had a really high vaulted ceiling. I saw one being standing in one corner and one being standing in the other corner, just watching and overseeing the space. Okay. And then if you have land or any amount of property, even if it's a small yard, there are often beings that are watching over that space. Now there's a bit of crossover here because when I talk about earth elementals are earth spirits. So when I lived in Overland Park, in my house in Overland Park, the first night that I moved in, I actually met, I woke up in the middle of the night and I saw there was this beautiful woman with this long robe, and I knew that she was the elemental guardian, the earth spirit for that property where I was living. So that was kind of cool. So the thing about the guardians of the land or the guardians of the house, they were there before you. And I know that I said before that you need to have sovereignty and, you know, if it's your house, it's your house. But let's say, or actually I have a story here about guardians. I was camping a couple of years ago, and in the middle of the night I woke up and I saw this male, I'm going to say it was a fairy because it had wings and it was little. No, whether you believe in fairies or not, this is the experience that I had. And he was kind of angry that I was there, actually. And but here's the thing, as a human being, I'm not going to assume that, like, I'm so special that I deserve to be anywhere, and anywhere that I go, I need to just kick out everybody else who's there, right? Like, he was there first, and that was his place. And I was just a human being coming and camping. So, you know, it's not, in that case, it's not appropriate for me to clear him out. That's his place, okay? So, actually, I'm going to jump ahead and talk about earth elementals a little bit more. And then we're going to talk about guardians and earth elementals together, about whether it's okay or not for them to be around. So earth elementals include all sorts of different kinds of earth spirits, which would include fairies and etc. So, like, there's water spirits, there's fire spirits, there's, you know, elves. I haven't personally seen any elves. I just know what I've experienced firsthand. I've had many experiences with fairies, but there's a whole long list that would be included in earth elementals. But the easy definition is they are spirits that are connected with various aspects of the earth. And they are, you know, some of them are acting as guardians. Others, that's just where they live. Okay? So let's say you move in someplace, or you build a house someplace, and there's an earth elemental or earth elementals that were living there before you, human being, came and moved in. You know, in my opinion, maybe it's because I'm a Libra and I want everything to be fair for other people, other beings. To me, it doesn't really seem fair that, you know, they were there and you're coming in and like wanting them to leave. So I would recommend before you move somewhere or, you know, spend time somewhere that you check to make sure that the energies feel good, because, you know, if they've been there forever and ever and ever, you might not be able to move them out. You might have to be the one that moves out if they're angry. A lot of times you can live very peacefully if you're someone who honors the earth and respects the earth and doesn't trash the earth. You can live very peacefully with them on your land and in your home, around your home, and everything will be fine. Okay, and they don't do the same thing that discarnate spirits do. They don't suck your energy. Okay, gosh, there's so much to talk about in this topic, because if we were to have a whole class all about guardians of the land and earth elementals, we could talk about the whole spectrum. That just like human beings, there are very, very good, positive. There are the middle, you know, kind of like neutral here in the middle, and then there's very evil ones too, and mischievous. There's some over here that are like very mischievous, troublemaking kinds of earth elementals. So that's something to be aware of. So, you know, as we've gone through this list, with a lot of these, there's not a clear answer. It's a lot of gray, right? So with the earth elementals and the guardians, it kind of depends. I would say with guardians in general, they are interested in the highest benefit of the land or the home. So they are not going to be mischievous or troublemaking. Okay, so they are generally going to be good to have in your home or on your land. Earth elementals can be anywhere along the spectrum: good, neutral, mischievous, and downright evil. So depending on what you have going on, you might have to, you know, get them to quiet down, at least if you're not able to get them to leave. And we're not going to get into clearing techniques for elementals. That gets a little bit tricky, and it depends on exactly what kind of elemental you're dealing with, and that's a whole other rabbit hole. So if you're having problems with that, I would suggest connecting with me one-on-one, and we'll do an evaluation, okay? Because that gets tricky. So we've gone through our whole list. We started off with the negative stuff. Obviously, we don't want that around, the demons and other malevolent beings. Guardian angels, spirit guides, other angelic beings, generally good to have around. Loved ones visiting you now and then, as long as they have moved on to the other side and they're just coming back to visit, I say thumbs up on that one. Ghosts, discarnate human spirits, thumbs down. They need to be moving on to the other side, okay? Because they're going to be sucking energy. Guardians of the land, guardians of your house. Most of the time, I'm going to give that a thumbs up, okay? That they are beneficial, they're good to have. And earth elementals, earth spirits, fairies, etc. That depends on who's showing up. But overall, if you are showing respect and honor for the earth and being respectful of them, most of the time they will leave you alone or even work with you and do beneficial things for you if they're a positive earth elemental. Okay, so we're almost out of time. I see we have a few questions, and now is a good time. If you have any questions about this content, then let me know. And then also, if you have questions that are unrelated to this topic, then you can always post questions on the Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. Not the page, that's my business page, but the group is the interactive Facebook arena. So Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group, you can get on there and post questions like about a dream that you had or an experience that you had, and I do often answer a little bit of people's, like I'll do a little bit of energy evaluation, and I'm pretty generous on there. And other people will answer your questions as well. Okay, so let's see, we've got a few questions. Nicole is asking, are all of the guardian spirits attractive, or are some scary looking? Yeah, that's interesting. When it gets to guardian spirits and earth elementals, not all of them are beautiful according to our standards of beauty. So some of them can be like, hunched over, like think of like a gnome, I guess gnomes are kind of cute, but like there's some that are kind of scraggly looking, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're evil. So just take it all with a grain of salt. And if there's a particular situation that you're concerned about, we can always evaluate that. Okay. And Nicole is asking, are earth elementals the ones that you see when you shamanic journey? That's another great question. So when you shamanic journey, you might see any number of spiritual beings. Now, yeah, I would say that's my short answer. It could be, you can see any number, not just elementals. Okay. So, yeah, there's a lot that I want to say, but that's what I would say. It's not necessarily only elementals that you might be seeing if you're astral traveling / shamanic journeying. Okay. Melissa says, I saw a wisp a few years back while camping. It was a reddish orange ball. Yeah, so since you were out in nature, there's a very big chance that it was an earth elemental, although there are discarnate spirits that can hang out and other spiritual beings that can also be outside. The chances are a lot bigger that it was an earth elemental since you were out in nature. And again, we can figure that out for sure. I can go into my intuitive mode and evaluate that for you sometime if you want. Ashley is saying, if you have purchased a new home, is it okay to go ahead and burn sage before you move in, or should you wait and scope out the vibe first? Oh, that is a great question. So I would, before you buy the house, before you decide that you want to buy the house and you're, with the realtor and you're walking around, that's when you scope it out. Okay. And you know what? Like, you can ask her to go to the other room while you tune in or do whatever it is that you need to do, without somebody watching you. Like, I think it's within your rights to do that. If you're going to buy the house, you should be able to do that before you buy it. Okay. And then, then after that, after you've bought it, you can go in, you can burn sage, you can bless the home, you can burn frankincense, which is exorcism strength clearing tool, by the way. I would go ahead and evaluate and then burn sage rather than the other way around. Okay. But if you've already burned the sage, it's not the end of the world, because all the easy stuff will, if you burn sage, all the easy to clear out energies will naturally leave, and the stuff that's not willing to leave will stay. So you'll still get an evaluation that way, and you'll know what's sticking around and what you need the more exorcism level tools to clear out. Ashley says, good deal, good vibes when I was there. Okay, cool. Awesome. So as we wind things up, whatever, because I've got a client here coming in just a minute, I just want to remind you about all the different ways that you can connect with me. And I didn't mention this before, but I want to make sure that I tell you now. There's actually free gifts that you can receive on my website. So if you haven't already headed over there, right after you get done watching this, I want you to go to www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and then there's like an email, I forget what it's called. It's like a little text box where you type in your email, and so you sign up for my email newsletter. Okay. But when you do that, you're going to automatically get an email within like a couple of minutes that has free gifts. It has a quiz to determine if you are vulnerable to psychic attack. It's a very comprehensive quiz. There's another quiz to help you determine if you are an empath or not. And even if you already know that you are, it's really, really enlightening to take that quiz because it helps you understand, like there's just things that you probably haven't thought of before in terms of being an empath. And then thirdly, I have a really awesome guided meditation. It's an audio recorded guided meditation. And my guided meditations are really popular. People love them. And so you get that all for free if you go and sign up at my website. And then more free stuff, you can go to my YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. And there's hours and hours and hours and hours of free classes on there about all the same stuff: psychic protection issues, empath issues, entity issues, psychic attack issues, daily maintenance for your energy, all of that. And there's also the free Facebook group, which I know some of you, those of you who are watching live are already on that, but those of you watching the replay on YouTube need to know about this. There's a free Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. And that's it. And if you want to go deeper, there's a mentorship program that I am offering right now and online courses on my website. Okay, so this was awesome. We went over so much. And Jeannie says, thank you, Maya. Always so interesting. Learned a lot. Clarified some things too. Cool. Jane says, very helpful. Thank you. And you're welcome. And we are right at a tiny bit over an hour, I think. So we are all done for this time. And we might possibly have a guest, somebody that I will be interviewing who's a psychic medium. We're making plans for her to be on the next Facebook Live. So it's not firm official yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to do it next time. And so she'll be talking about all of the positive encounters that you could have with visitations from spirits, from ghosts, from loved ones, etc. Because that is what she does for a living, is she's a psychic medium. So I will give you more information on that later once we get it all confirmed. And until next time, remember to mark your calendar for the first Monday evening every month. We will be meeting on Facebook Live and having more great content every time. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. See you next time. Bye.